Hi, I'm Cleo.
And I'm Joe.
And this is a clearing special for the Bits of Beds podcast.
Welcome to this special clearing edition of the Bits of Beds podcast, where you can find out everything you need to know about the clearing journey with the University of Bedfordshire.
To discover more about the clearing process with the University of Bedfordshire, go online and visit beds.ac.uk/clearing. You'll find advice and an online chat option.
You can also call us right now on 0300 3300 073 and speak to a member of our friendly admissions team who can talk you through the application process and discuss your degree options.
In this episode, we're catching up with a range of inspiring guests, including students who will be sharing their clearing experience, and academics and staff who have all the top tips for navigating this process.
Now, before we get started, clearing helps to match applicants to university places that have yet to be filled. It's open to all undergrad uni applicants between July and October.
Whether you've changed your mind about where you want to go to uni, your A-level or BTEC results have surprised you, or you've just decided to take that step and apply for further study at the last minute, there's plenty of reasons why you might apply through clearing. And that's the aim of this podcast, to break the clearing taboos. We now have a very exciting guest joining us on the podcast. Many of you will know Melvin Odoom from his career working in radio and television, including his current role as presenter for BBC Radio 1 and appearing on shows such as Strictly Come Dancing.
But what you may not know is that he's an alumni of the University of Bedfordshire and came to study here through clearing. It was actually in these very studios where we're recording this podcast that Melvin met his presenting partner, Ruki. Let's find out more about his experience and see what advice he has for others in a similar situation.
Hello, I'm Melvin Odoom. I'm Ruki and Charlie's co-host on Radio 1. We do the Live Lounge. It's an amazing dream job that I've been working on. I've been in radio for about over 16 years now, and I'm chatting to you guys. And you guys are the foundation because I actually came from the University of Bedfordshire, so it's an honour to be on the airwaves with you right now.
Do you miss it here?
Yeah, you know what? My uni life was like one of the happiest moments. We've had some happy times, but I just remember being consistently happy. So my experience at Bedfordshire was just incredible. The University of Bedfordshire, which was called Luton at the time, was one of my choices, but I've always struggled with exams. So I did like an A-level in media studies, sociology and drama. And so I was kind of predicted certain grades and I just didn't get the grades that I was looking for, which was really, really stressful for me. And I felt like I let my mum down because she was like really adamant that I had to go to university. And so I was like, I didn't know what to do. I remember getting my grades and it felt like that was it. That's the end of my life. I didn't know what to do. And then someone had told me about clearing, which is essentially a process where you contact certain universities around the country, you give them your grades, and then they decide whether or not you can come to the university. Bedfordshire was one of my choices at the time. So I contacted them and I told them what I want to do and told them the course that I wanted to go on. And they were like, yep, we'll take you on. And that was like a massive relief off my shoulders because I was just like, I've got into university and that was my main goal. That was the kind of like the only reason I did my A-levels in the first place was to get to university.
So where do you think you'd be today without clearing?
You know what, that is a scary question because if I didn't get to the University of Bedfordshire, I would have never met Ruki because I met Ruki in my very first year of uni. He was pretty much doing the same course as me and we had similar goals. Then we did student radio, then we left there and then he got me a job at One Extra. And then that job led us to come sign to an agency and then we went to Kiss and met Charlie. So had those chain of events not happened earlier on, then I don't know what I'd be doing right now. I've always said that everything happens for a reason. And sometimes, like I remember at the time when I didn't get those grades, I was just like, I don't know what to do. And I've probably like ruined my chances of anything happening. But in a way, it was probably the best thing that ever happened. Because I went to a university, I enjoyed my time there, I made friends, I made one of my best friends, and also business partners who I work with till this day, and that was over 20 years ago. So had it not been through clearing, if Bedfordshire said, nope, you can't come through, you've got no space for you, then I don't know what I would have done.
So from your perspective then, this university is, obviously you met Ricky, but it's giving you that platform, hasn't it, to kind of get to where you've got to now. So I can imagine that anyone out there who's listening to this thinking about clearing, we all have that different pathway, but I guess from your perspective, you'd recommend it.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny because when someone kind of explains the process of clearing to you, you kind of assume it's a negative, but it's actually an opportunity. I think everything in life is an opportunity. My goal was to get certain grades. That didn't happen. And so then what's the next step? And I just feel like clearing is another step and another opportunity. When it comes to education, as long as you're learning something new, there shouldn't be a negative attached to it. I think some people think, oh, it's clearing, that's kind of like the backdoor way of doing things. But no, it's just another way to get through a door.
What's your number one piece of advice to anyone who's looking to go to uni?
I would say do your research and be open-minded. Just because I went to Luton going, right, I want to do this specific thing. Like, all I wanted to do was kind of like media. And then when I met Rix as well, because he came from Brit School, and so he knew loads about radio. And I was like, oh, I kind of like radio, but I don't know too much about it. And then that ended up being my career. Don't go there going, right, I'm just going to go to uni, I'm just going to do this thing, and I'm not going to sway in any other direction. I think go there and be open-minded. See what you like, see what you don't like, see what interests you, see what you're actually good at, and then make a decision then.
A lovely bit of advice. Yeah.
When students are coming through the clearing process, one of the first people they will speak to will be someone from our admissions team here at Bedfordshire.
Let's chat to some of the team who look after students who get in touch about applying via clearing.
Hi, I'm Andrea.
Hi, I'm Zara.
And I'm Victoria.
Very nice to meet you all.
We have a process where people can contact our clearing centre via telephone, and we have a team of temporary clearing operators that are waiting to take calls from the results day. We also, on our website, have a link to our online application form that's used in clearing. So people can choose to contact us via their phone or go directly to the website and make an application straight away. And all of those queries come through to the admissions team. So we are working hard in the clearing centre, looking at any applications that come in and also the information that's taken by our clearing operators.
Could you talk to us about some of the jobs that you do within your role?
So I tend to mainly look at the healthcare courses.
I help with the health professional courses such as nurse midwifery. I help with interviews, admin, replying to lots of emails. And I help out with the general courses as well, taking phone calls and answering emails. I manage the home admissions team, so I have quite a lot of things to do over the clearing period. So some of the time I may be looking at reports, other times I am making decisions on applications along with my team, making sure that the operation's running smoothly, that our applicants are getting a high level of customer service. So we try and offer multiple channels for people to contact us.
Yeah, and it's quite a big role. It just reminds me of my experiences. I actually went to those clearing open days, and that was kind of the deciding factor for me. What's some of the common questions you get asked during these sort of phone calls or applications?
I'd definitely say entry criteria. Sometimes our applicants contact us and they're concerned that they may not have the appropriate grades to study with us. We also consider work experience. We have a lot of courses with a foundation year. So when people don't get the results that they're hoping for, we often have an option that we're able to consider them for. We do ask applicants if they want callbacks from academics, but also our academics during clearing make a lot of outbound calls. So if someone were to apply on our clearing application and we were to make an offer of a place, an academic would be calling to see if there's anything that they could help with. Are there any questions?
You mentioned there about your relationship as the admissions team with the academics, and with the University of Bedfordshire we have a wide range of topics, don't we? So would you say that's really important?
Absolutely, and I think all of us have a really good understanding of the courses that we offer, but ultimately, if someone wants really detailed information, of course, then, there's only so much that we will be able to share with them, but absolutely we will know exactly the right person, even get them to call back at a time that's convenient for them, and then be able to have that kind of one-on-one conversation.
I think from my own perspective, I know that I made the decision to end a 10-year career to come back to university, and I had my doubts and I had conversations. My lecturers now had multiple conversations with me leading up to started, even had Zoom calls, and it's a fantastic, it gives you a feel they really want you to succeed in that course as well. And in terms of the clearing process itself, so historically there's always been this perception about the clearing process. So as the admissions team, what are some of the kind of topics that people should kind of ignore in terms of the clearing taboos?
Yeah.
I would say that as time has gone on, clearing doesn't mean what it used to people. I think we've moved on quite a lot. I think applicants are aware that clearing isn't for people necessarily that have met their grades. It's an additional opportunity to consider another university. And I think it is very much a buyer's market. Students have a lot of choice. Clearing's the ideal time to shop around, see what else is out there, talk to institutions and academics and see what is going to be the best fit.
Now, let's catch up with Adrian Dutch, who is one of the Pro Vice-Chancellors here at the university.
Alongside overseeing student admissions here at Bedfordshire, Adrian knows the clearing process well, as he personally applied to study for a degree at university through clearing himself.
The emotions you go through at the time. I mean, I obviously went through clearing about 200 years ago. Back in those days, obviously no internet. All of the courses that were available were published in, I think it was the Daily Telegraph. So you'd have to go out and buy a copy of the Daily Telegraph, and every day they would be printing an ever shorter and shorter list of what was available, and you had to get on the phone and ring. And then the rest of it operated pretty much as it does now, as a big, university call centres operating. But obviously going through that process, you're going through it also at a point where you're at your lowest. You were probably planning to go somewhere else. You were probably thinking you were going to get better grades. I think for me as well, a lot of you students these days study quite close to home. Back in the day, and also where I grew up, there was no local university. So you were always going to be moving away. So your plans have changed drastically. I was going to be going to a university in Birmingham. I ended up going to a university in Sheffield. So even the practicalities of finding somewhere to live and the people that you thought you might be studying with from your home, from your school, now they're all still going off to their university, and you're going to have to start from scratch. So it's all slightly, terrifying, but I think it's improved for students a lot. Firstly, the sheer volume of students going through clearing makes it quite, for want of a better word, normal. But I think there's also the issue that people don't talk about clearing. And I've often said, if you look online and Google famous people who didn't go to university, you'll get a nice list of, the Richard Bransons of this world. If you Google who went through clearing, you get nothing, because the reality is it never gets talked about the day after clearing. I went through clearing. No one's ever asked me since then if I went through clearing. I didn't turn up on university on the first day and people go, so were you clearing or not? It just never gets talked about, which is a good thing to know, but it's a bad thing in the sense that there aren't any role models for clearing to kind of destigmatise it.
Definitely. I think from my own perspective, I'm classed as a mature student, so I came into university a little bit later in life, and I applied for multiple universities, some big ones, some a bit small. And what I felt from this university is when I was approached the university, I got a lot amazing feedback. They reached out to the academics. From the academic process, I was having conversations with them regularly throughout summer, and it was just a really helpful process. So from your perspective, what top tips would you give to anyone who's looking at going through the clearing process?
Well, the first thing is, bear in mind, it's not the end of the world. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. The second thing is to understand there are thousands and thousands and thousands of students going through the same process. And the third thing is pick up the phone. I think it's really important. Pick up the phone. The people on the other end of the phone, again, regardless of the institution you're calling, there is a whole bunch of people on the end of that phone dying to hear from you. So have that in mind when you're slightly trepidatiously dialing, that the people on the other end of the phone really want to speak to you.
I'm really glad you came on this podcast, because I think you're highlighting a lot of different things. Obviously, you've been through clearing how many years ago?
A million.
But it's nice to see the similarities between obviously those feelings that students are feeling nowadays and how you felt when you obviously applied through clearing.
And as you mentioned, it's trying to take away that stigma of clearing and try and big it up as, like you said, yes, it will be disappointing if you haven't got the grades you've got, but try and change that perception in the sense that it gives you flexibility as well, gives you other options.
I think the other thing is as well is that if you feel that you might be in clearing, you don't have to wait to go and visit universities, to go and look at campuses. Go and have a look. Be prepared, and that way you go in knowing that your plan B is viable or your plan C is viable because you've already been there and had a look.
We're now going to chat to some students who came to study through clearing and experienced the benefits of applying via the process.
Before we meet our first guest, Cleo, didn't you come through clearing to start at the University of Bedfordshire?
Yeah, I did.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Yeah, so obviously, I got my A-level results, opened them, weren't the best, and then I got my insurance choice, which I turned down because I just wasn't liking the university. They just didn't have the facilities that I needed for my specific course. So then I just went into clearing, and obviously University of Bedfordshire was one of my choices. So I called up the clearing line, and the admissions team were really helpful. They guided me through the whole process, and they directed me to a clearing open day. And then I came to the university, had a look around, met with the head of school, and just really got a feel for the whole place, really. The facilities were outstanding, and yeah, I just fell in love with the place, and I came to University of Bedfordshire.
Awesome. Shall we find out some more about other people's experience in the clearing process?
Yeah, why not? So we're here with Megan. So how did you come to Bedfordshire?
I like to think my journey to Beds wasn't the traditional one. I had to jump through a few hoops to get where I ended up. But I changed my mind, wanted to look at some other universities to start my journey in the industry. So I ended up going through clearing in the end and talking to loads of people at Beds who really guided me through the whole process and were always at the other end of the phone to answer any questions I had. So they were amazing in being able to help answer all of my questions and any worries I had.
Could you dive into a little bit about clearing and what it entailed?
Clearing can sometimes get a bit of a bad rep, and I think people really need to stay away from that. I had such a good experience going through clearing, and there was an abundance of people ready to help me with any questions or concerns I had. And I really found that clearing was a very easy process during what could be a very stressful time for people. Some people can see clearing as maybe a negative thing, but I think we need to be looking at it as more of a positive, knowing that you're being able to use this service to find a university that you're supposed to be at.
Sounds amazing. So what has that degree enabled you to do as a career?
So when I graduated in 2021, I moved back home to the Channel Islands, where I started freelancing at one of our local radio stations. I also worked at the local paper, writing articles as a reporter. And then I was very lucky 6 months after graduation to land a spot on the ITV News traineeship. In November 2021, I joined ITV News in the Channel Islands, and the rest is history. I've been here ever since. I'm absolutely loving my job at the moment. I'm just about to start a new role as the early presenter for Good Morning Britain in the Channel Islands, so I'll be waking up very, very early. It's just incredible how fast my career has progressed.
My name's Sophie Rahim. I was a tour student at Cape Clearing on a social work degree course.
You mentioned that you kind of come through clearing. Would you be able to just talk us through that process?
For me, the reason that I was attracted through clearing is that I was going through like what they call a restructure at work. I just happened to see the advert for University of Bedfordshire, and I was like, well, let me just find out a bit more about what that would look like, how much that would cost. Coming through clearing was a really good way in the respect that there was an open day, it was very quick, there were people I could talk to, there were people available on the phone to answer my questions. I kind of had those answers quite quick.
So why social work?
I think I'd always, for a number of years, I guess really, I'd kind of describe myself as kind of drifting and bumbling through kind of safeguarding jobs, but not really felt myself as academic enough to do the higher paid jobs that needed a degree. I think I'd always deep down wanted to be a social worker, but never in the position financially or even felt academically to be able to come back to university. I've got 2 children. I'd had my children and now at 20, so it wasn't the right time for me to pursue education at that time. So that's really why I was a late starter.
your son also came here as well. So why did your son decide to come to Bedfordshire?
I had, like I say, spent 3 years at Bedfordshire from 2017 to 2019. I graduated, and that was at the same time. That was at the same point that he was pursuing which universities to look at. But I felt the student support and camaraderie, I think, amongst students was really, really strong at Bedfordshire, and I didn't want him to rule it out. So he decided to come along to one of the open days. I was helping out on an open day, so I asked him to come along, see what I was doing on the day, but also that gave him an opportunity to see what else to explore. He did make the decision and make the leap to come and kind of study at the University of Bedfordshire, and I'm pleased to say that I graduated in 2019, and I was fortunate enough to get a first-class degree at the Uni of Beds for social work.
Congrats.
Yeah, but he also, having gone through the process, been well supported by a University of Bedfordshire, has now got his final grades back and is graduating this year, and has also got a first-class degree
to him.
from the University of Bedfordshire. The student support, whether you're a mature student or a student that comes straight through college, has been second to none.
Hi, I'm Yasmin and I'm in my 4th year studying at this uni. I did my undergraduate in sports science and now I'm doing my master's by research.
And how's your master's going?
Yeah, it's going really well.
That's good. So you said you joined by clearing. So how was your sort of experience? Just tell us a bit about what happened, your experience and how you found it and any advice you've got.
So when I was applying to uni, I wasn't really sure of what I wanted to do because I always liked sport, but I also really like maths. And I applied for sports science initially, but then on clearing I was just looking through all the options and I saw there was a more specific one about football. So I rung up, and the guy was really helpful and he explained everything and I thought it was better suited.
Awesome, and now you're doing your masters, so you clearly must love it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your course you're studying at the moment.
So I'm doing a master's by research, quite independent, I don't have any lectures. But my supervisors are really helpful, like I have meetings with them regularly and the lab staff are super helpful, like I'm in the labs quite a lot.
Do you have any top tips for anyone who's thinking of joining uni through clearing?
Yeah, I'd just say I'd go to the area before you actually accept anything. So I come to Bedford, I didn't actually go around the uni, but I saw the embankment, I saw town, and I thought it quite nice.
And if you were to go back, would you do anything different? Or do you think you've made the right choice?
I think I made the right choice. I mean, I wouldn't be in my 4th year if I hadn't.
Now, we're going to speak to some academics here at the university who are on hand throughout the clearing period to speak to students about what they can expect from their course and the type of support they can receive during their studies.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Paul Cavendish and I'm a senior lecturer in psychology.
Can you just tell us a bit about your role in the clearing process?
So this year I'll be on campus attending. We have a big clearing centre and I've put myself down for 3 slots during the clearing period where I sit at the phones and we have a list of numbers that we call and we go through and speak to the prospective students.
Awesome. What do you usually talk to them about?
So I'd endeavour to answer any questions they might have. So they might have questions about a particular course. So in psychology we have 3 undergraduate courses. We have the straight psychology, we have forensic psychology, and we also have psychology, counselling and therapies. So they might be asking specific questions about that. We talk about, they've got their qualifications. It might be that they're in some doubt as to whether their qualifications are enough. One thing that we always stress in psychology is that we'll look at each person as an individual. It might be someone's got work experience in a particular area that's actually relevant to the field of study. And so that is actually going to speak volumes to us about that potential student as a person. One big question is, how many days will I be in university a week? Yeah. And so I get general questions like that quite a lot of the time.
And in terms of, so from the student's perspective, why do you think it's important for them to speak to the academics and get an understanding of the course?
They're going to be speaking to someone who's got their finger on the pulse of what's going on in the school, potentially of the particular course they're on, and who can be best placed to help them, really. They should be able to answer their questions, and hopefully it helps them to make the choice to actually come to us and being reassured that they're in the right hand.
I'm Terry Lee. I am the senior tutor in radio and audio at the University of Bedfordshire, and I'm also responsible for the radio station, Radio Lab.
So can you talk to us about your role within clearing?
As an academic member of staff, there's, generally speaking, a rota where we all take on a number of different slots in the clearing period, where we are going to be on call, I guess, to speak to potential students, applicants interested in finding out more about the course. I also speak to those who have accepted a place or, had applied to be on the course, and we just chase them up and just check that everything's still okay and that we're going to see them the following September.
So what sort of questions do you usually hear from prospective students?
Students are often wanting to get down into the nitty gritty of what units they're doing, what their first year looks like. For courses like mine, they want to find out how practical it is.
What sort of benefits do you think are associated with clearing?
Clearing gives students, depending on the nature of why they've gone through clearing, a lot of students are increasingly using clearing as their way of picking a university. They're seeing what's available after they've got results and things like that. But often there will be another reason why they've come through clearing, and they're looking at what their options are because their first option isn't going to happen for whatever reason. And it's just about reassuring them. I'm in an advantageous position where I can invite them in and we can show them the facilities, not just radio, but the TV studios, the newsroom. And it's about using clearing as an opportunity to welcome these applicants and try to persuade them that, Bedfordshire is a great place to study.
Let's chat now with Ruki Heritage, who is the Director of Student Experience here at the University of Bedfordshire. Hi, Ruki.
Hi there.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so as you said, Ruki Heritage, Director of Student Experience, and I look after students. That's my main role.
Awesome. Would you say, so you talk about you look after students. Could you dive a little bit into that and say what your day-to-day role would be?
No day is exactly the same, but I would say I support students, so their concerns, things that make them happy, things that we can, as a university, we can improve on.
What sort of support can students expect from the university? So, you're coming to university for the first time, it's a big move, probably leaving home. What can you expect?
First bit of guidance I would say to anybody thinking of coming to our university or any university, is just take a step back. Don't get bombarded with loads of information and feeling worried about it. And, just take a step back and think about why you want to come to university. Think about what university can offer you. Go and see the university, walk around, have a look. And then, if you're a student, for an example, that's got a specific learning difficulty or you suffer with a mental health difficulty, speak to the support teams that are there. That we have a variety of teams that can help all students.
I think that's really important to highlight, especially in this sort of time that we're in. You have many different types of people that apply to university, different abilities, different circumstances that are coming from backgrounds. So I think that's really important that you're able to support all these different types of people. I've applied to uni through maybe clearing or whatever other means. How can I make sure that I can just find out everything I need to know about the university and just making sure I'm ready to start?
Best place is the My Beds Life app. And it's a great place where all information that you'll need about starting university is there. And actually, we got a platinum rating for university apps. So, we're kind of one of the leaders in the area. What you can find there is student blogs. You can find information about the local area, campus map, cost of living. If you're worried about finances, there's information about that, and also about support services. And it's great to just have that one-stop shop where a student can go rather than having to sort of trail through websites all the time.
And what are the types of communication pathways for if someone, as you said, wants to contact the student support service before they start?
Best way to do it is just call the university, ask for the student support team, and they'll be connected and they can speak to you. Good to make those connections beforehand. It's really important. So when you turn up first day at university, there's nothing that feels different or you're scared because you got familiar faces, the building, the surroundings. I think that's really important. Also the area. Look around the area and get familiar with it.
Thank you for all the insight into the student support that we have at the University of Bedfordshire.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Well, that's all we've got time for in this special episode of the Bits of Beds podcast. We hope you found it informative and have taken away lots of top tips to help you feel confident about clearing with the University of Bedfordshire.
To discover more about the clearing process with the University of Bedfordshire, go online and visit beds.ac.uk/clearing, where you'll find advice and an online chat option.
You can also call us right now on 0300 3300 073 and speak to a member of our friendly admissions team who can talk you through the application process and discuss your degree options.
Thanks for listening. A special shout out to our guests, producers and the Radio Lab studios here at the University of Bedfordshire. For more useful content and insider information about studying with the University of Bedfordshire, take a listen to our other episodes of Bits of Beds, wherever you get your podcast fix.
Bye.